Awesome. All right. Welcome, everyone. So, where we're going to be picking up today is on page 60. And it's right after the three pertinent ideas, the ABCs. And we're picking up right at the sentence that begins being convinced we were at step three. Now, last week we were talking about those three pertinent ideas. Is the first one that we were alcoholic or addict or whatever brings you to this all inclusive study and could not manage your own lives, which is a step one idea. And then the second pertinent idea, B, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. Well, that is also a step one idea. That idea that I am beyond human aid, that I am beyond human power. Now, see that God could and would if he were sought. Now, that is a step two idea that there is a power, that there is a solution. But I don't have it yet. No, but having come to that conclusion of these three ideas, that then brings us to step three. And I'll point out that what we did last 2 weeks, because we weren't going quickly, but we were going. We were also reading through the 12 steps as they're outlined on 59 and 60. And I'll point out why that's important. So, being convinced, we are at step three. So, at this point, we are really diving in and beginning this third step, which is that we decided to turn our will and our life over to God as we understood him. So, what is the third step? The thrust of the third step is simply a decision. I won't say just, because I mean, it's kind of a big one. And it's a classic joke. I didn't come up with it on my own. I'm sure I know I stole it from somebody. It's the Who, maybe an Adam T. I think I might have stolen it from him. But it's that idea like, hey, you remember when you first got into recovery, and then there's some old timers that are like, no major decisions in your first year. And it's like, have you had a look at that third step? That's kind of a big one. It's a big one for sure. So, what I will point out is that's why it's always good to go to the book. But it is not just a decision, it is simply a decision. So when it says it is a decision to turn our will and our life over to God as we understood him. So a lot of times now I'm gonna share with you what sort of you'll often hear in the rooms, and then I'm gonna shake it up a little bit, not too much because I still want your approval. But oftentimes in the rooms we'll hear that like our will is our thoughts and our lives are our actions. And I'm not gonna say that's wrong. And if you're like, yeah, that's what that is, amazing, you're right. But I stole this from a sponsee. You start working with others and they teach you things. It's the coolest. But a sponsee of mine was sharing, like, what if my will was my actions? And what if my life was the results? And that I was like, ooh, I like that. Like it just hit in a different way. Because there's a lot of times where I don't have the ability to control like what's happening in my mind, but I do have the ability to control the action that I take in response to that. So that we are turning, and I love that idea that I'm turning my actions and the results of my actions over to God as we understood him. And so when we talk about God as we understood him, what I'll point out is I got my 1930s dictionary because I'm fun at parties, and absolutely, if it would travel well, it won't. It's from the 30s. I'd bring it to parties. Uh, but in my 1930s dictionary, the word understood or understand means to know through experience. Now, at the second step and at the third step, we're not going to have this experience with this power. But that is the sole purpose of these 12 steps, to bring about a spiritual experience, to bring about an experience of God. So it is not a God of my intellect or my belief or a God that was shoved down my throat. It is a power that I am going to experience as the result of the 12 steps. So it says, just what do we mean by that? And just what do we do? So how? And actually, it's one of those things, some of you guys that come to a lot of the things where I talk a lot, which is most of the things I do in life. I'm in some fellowships, but I should be in, and on anonymous, just on and on. But what we're talking about, when it says just what do we mean by that? What do we do? There's so many times we'll go to like meetings, or maybe I'll call a sponsor, or I'll reach out to somebody and they're like, come on, Paige, you got to turn it over. Or I would hear people say like, I'm struggling with turning it over, or I took back my will. And there's some about how my brain works where I'm like, I actually don't know what that means. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I don't know what that means because I need you to think I know what I'm doing. But like, especially when I was new, I'm like, I'm not asking follow-up questions. I'm like, yes, you are right. I need to turn it over. What is it? And is it like I told this joke the other day. Is it a turnover of the apple variety? Like I can do those. An apple turnover all day. Like, what do you want me to do? And so because it's one of those things that it's like, it's conceptually, just let go, let God. Cool. Yeah. How? You know what I mean? Like, how? Especially if it's a thing that's like eating me alive. Just let go, let God. Great. I'll get right on that. I'll put that in the itinerary. I don't know what I'm doing. So as we go through step 3, it's going to explain what we mean by that and just what do we do. But I'm going to spoil it for all of us. I'm ruining your day, and then I'm going to turn it over to Terry, who'll make your day. He's a real joy bringer. He's the best. But I'm going to ruin it first. So when it says, what do we mean by that and what do we do? What we mean by that and what we do is the tangible actions of the 12 steps. That is what we mean. So the third step, to make it really, really simple as it really is it is a decision, simply a decision to work these 12 steps as a way of life, like my life depends on it, because it does. That's what I'm deciding. And that's why we read through the steps, because I'm deciding, okay, am I going to take this course of action? And here's the thing. Actually, okay, I'm trying to pick a geography. We got people from Florida and Georgia and Thailand, and I'm like, and Ontario and Yonkers and Australia, and I'm like, there's too many geography choices. So coming up is the AA International in Vancouver. And you see, I'm going to make this metaphor. See, in this metaphor, step 1 is that if I stay where I'm at, I'm in Calgary, Alberta. If I stay where I'm at, I am going to relapse. That is step 1. And to be fair, that's step 1. Step 2 is about believing Vancouver exists. That's all it is. Now, I had the privilege of going out there a little while ago and visiting, but I don't need to know anything about Vancouver. I don't need to like Vancouver. I don't need to have walked on the beaches. They do have beaches. I don't need to have experienced Vancouver. I just need to not gaslight the people who live there, who are saying, yeah, I live in Vancouver, and be like, that's nice for you. Now, because the internationals is happening, I made a decision. All right, I'm going to go to that international. I have decided. But if I didn't get a registration, if I didn't get a hotel, and if you've ever tried to go to an international, you know there's a headache in trying to register and online and do all that. Some of you know what's up. And if you don't, the heads up, it's very stressful and it shouldn't be. That's a good litmus test of your spiritual condition, is when you're like in the queue trying to book things online and it crashes and nobody can get in. And it's like, oh, let go and let God. Well, how do I do that? I do the steps. So pick up some inventory. And so the third step is simply a decision for me to go to Vancouver. But I've got to get the registration. I've got to get the hotel. I've got to get the plane ticket. On Wednesday, I'm going to have to go to the airport. I'm going to have to go to my gate. Or before that, I got to go through security. I got to get on the plane, and I land in Vancouver. It's a straight shot because it's just like an hour and a bit flight. And so only when I am in Vancouver am I there. So only when I have taken the tangible actions of all 12 steps is my will and my life turned over to the care of God. That is how that happens. So in the third step, I'm simply making a decision to take the course of action that will allow my will and my life to be in God's care. And I'm just emphasizing care because it will be cared for. And if I'm not sure of that, Well, let's look at the dumpster fire that is my life in step one. I'm clearly not doing a good job caring for it. And y'all seem happy and sober at the same time. So maybe you got something going on that I don't got. So that's all I got for that one. Over to you. And I say as I nattered on way too long, over to Terry. Pew pew.
Thanks, Dave. Uh, where did you ended what after a couple sentences?
Yeah, like just what do we mean
Just
by that? Just what do we do? The first
okay,
requirement. That's
gotcha,
that's you.
gotcha. And being convinced of what the ABCs. You know, funny. It's like well, if you're not convinced of that, I believe that if the original manuscript said just toss this book or reread it, right? The language is a little bit different, but I highly recommend you check out the original manuscript. It's pretty fascinating how Bill talks to us, kind of like shouting at us a little bit. Uh, but thank God for Hank Parkhurst with his little soft tone to it, right? All right. So the first requirement is that and I like to read this in the first person, and take these statements and turn them into considerations or questions. So the book talks to me. So the first requirement is that I be convinced that any life, my AA way of life, my family life, my work life, my relationship life, my dietary life, my gym life, every aspect of your life. This is what we're looking at. Run on self-will can hardly be a success. So I stopped there. And there's a couple of things I would recommend is see if where you are let's do this. Why don't you guys try this exercise out today or tonight? You could go to two people in recovery who have probably a good working knowledge of the 12 steps, also been in a recovered state, so they know what you're talking about when you approach them. Go to two people in recovery and ask them, how do you see me running my life on self-will and shut up and no rebuttal and and you can't respond to what they say, right? You just say, yep, yep, thank you. And that was it. Now, if they're not in recovery or they have no idea what the hell self-will is, go to anyone and or one person, two people, whoever, and ask them, do you think I'm authentic? And you shut up and you listen. What they're going to explain to you, now hopefully these are people that you've given consent to, spiritual consent to post you up or hold you accountable. What they'll explain to you is how you like to run the show, how you like to play God, and you're going to listen to this without rebuttal or argumentation, and you're going to disagree with maybe a good portion of what they say, but you can't respond because you got to listen. So write down what they say because it will show you what it feels like to live a life based on self-will. All right. Now I have to be convinced of this in order to move forward. Am I convinced that any part of my life run on my own will? Self-will could hardly be a success. That is a departure point for us as well. Right. If I don't agree with that, then I'm going to let you know you are going to have difficulties going through the rest of the step, especially when you get to the step, or was it step three, part one, which is the fourth step. Step three, part two is the fifth step. You're going to have difficulties throughout the rest of the step, right? So on this basis of living on self-will, I am almost always in collision with something or somebody, even though my motives are good. So here's a good exercise for everybody. Write down any time where you've been disturbed or had been in collision or collided with someone in your life. Anyone know, like, it feels like to be in a car accident? Yeah, you bump, you shake, right? There's some disturbance. Write down any disturbances or collisions in your life currently, even with a good motive. See, Mark Houston will talk about us being motiveless, becoming what is called a hollow bone. An alcoholic or an addict with an motive is pretty, we're armed and dangerous people. We really are things, right? So write that list of where any collision is in your life today, as of today. Now, if there is collision or if there is disturbance, that means there's selfishness and self-centeredness intact and you're not aware of it, right? Okay, here we go. Most people like to live by self-propulsion. I love that line. I mean, I live in New York City. Say I go out to the country, or I don't live in New York City, I live in Yonkers. I could basically throw a rock and hit the Bronx. But I mean, long story short, say I go out into the country, right? And I'm walking down with my wife, we see a couple, we wave to them, they come on over, they wave back at us, they invite us over for apple pie, they want to do karaoke and stuff, and they're super nice, right? But say I'm in New York City, I'm walking around Manhattan and I wave at somebody that's walking by, they're like zoom, 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 zoom. They're not really paying attention to me. Why? Because they're trying to get to work. Most people live by self-propulsion, right? So here we go. I am like an actor who wants to run the whole show, that I am forever trying to arrange the lights, the ballet, the scenery, and the rest of the players in my own way. Now, if my arrangements would only stay put, right? If only people would do as I wish, the show would be fucking great. That's how I felt about it. Can you feel that? I mean, come on. Imagine if like you walked outside and everything you thought about came into fruition, how people should act, say, and do. I mean, life would be freaking wonderful. You see, I have a script for everybody in my life, but I don't send them the script. And when they go off script, I'm in collision or disturbance all the time. Now we're going to go into this toolkit of self-will, or the self-will toolkit. And it said life would be wonderful, and trying to manage these arrangements. I may be sometimes quite virtuous. So this is our self-will toolkit. I could be quite virtuous with a kind motive. I may be kind. I may be considerate. I may be patient. I may even be generous. I could even be modest and self-sacrificing. I mean, yeah. Anyone like, say you're at the diner and you're walking into a diner and you hold the door open for someone and they walk by and they don't say thank you. Like, yo, where's my thank you at? Right, Matt? Like, yo, where's my thank you at? You know, like sometimes we pick paper on the ramps over here on the highways, and I'm picking paper and I'm looking up. I'm like, did anyone see me? Is anyone seeing me? What a great job I'm doing? Anyone seeing what a great, or say like, I wave someone in, to while I'm driving and I'm self-sacrificing. I probably get stuck at that light and they drive by and they don't give me the thank you wave. Not even this, Paige. Not even just like a five up, right? You're welcome, right? Where's my effing thank you at? See, I'm being kind and generous, and I'm being all this. I mean, what about with your sponsees? When your sponsees, you set up the whole day to listen to a fifth step, and then all of a sudden they bail? Yo, you just messed with my time. That my time is super important. Why are you bailing on me? Hold on. Why aren't you doing the work? Don't you want what I have? Well, then do what we do. Come on. Anyone been angry at the people they work with? Maybe Paige. Not Paige. I mean, think about this. Look, the ego becomes extremely spiritual, like really fast. Like, yeah, my disease is outside doing push-ups, but it's more like in the other room taking acting classes, like looking to make a freaking comeback, like in a different phase. Like, I have a bunch of talkers that are in my head, and they are super nice. I remember my supervisor, my wife, she made food for me. I forgot exactly what she made. Yeah, wings. She makes wings. And I know my supervisor loves wings, just loves it. Right. And my wife's like, don't, if you're gonna bring this to work, this is for you, Terry, not for anyone else. But in the back of my head is my supervisor loves wings. You know what? I might score some good points with this. You know what? I'm gonna be considerate, and I'm gonna be kind, and I'm gonna give him those wings. And I remember I walk up to work. The first thing I'm thinking about is giving him wings, and I have that little wings plate in front of me, and I'm like, guess what this is? And he was completely uninterested. And I'm like, you want to know what's in this plate here, this styrofoam? Or you want to know what's up with this tin foil? And I was like, here, you want some wings? I ignored exactly what my wife asked me to do. The wings were for me, and I didn't get a response out of him, even though I was being kind, self-sacrificing, even patient, even generous. These are some things to really look at, and I could go to the other side. I could be a complete a-hole, right? On the other hand, I may be mean, egotistical, selfish, and dishonest, right? I mean, like, hey, sweetheart, I tell my wife to get me a beer. Hey, can you get me a beer? All right, hurry up now, all right? Like I could be mean, like real mean, right? Why? To get what I want, in order to make sure that this script that I have for everybody in my life goes the way that I want them to go through that script. And I'm going to exert myself a lot. It's going to tell me I'm going to fail and exert myself more. And the next page, look, everybody loves page 8, page 25, 62. Next page after this, page 100, page 85. All great pages. My favorite page in the big book is right here, page 61. And I like to look at my current experience with page 61 because this is what it feels like to live a life based on self-will. Because look, Clancy, I would say if you think alcohol is your problem, you're most likely going to die of the disease of alcoholism. There's a lot of people who do not stay around because they would rather listen to this talker up here, this little minion. That's why it says we are at step 3. Then 2 pages later, they say, what does it say on 63? It says we are now at step 3. Hold on. Why are they telling us that? Then we're now at it because they're going to show us what exactly it looks like to live a life based on self-will and playing God, and why playing God doesn't work, and why selfishness is connected to drinking, which we'll describe in the next paragraph. So I'll back to you, Paige. Thanks. Pew, pew, pew.
Pew, pew, pew. And I love that. As it was, and I love that it talks about motives because, like, that's the thing is, I always think my motives matter far more than they really do. And we hear about that in the rooms, motives, motives, motives. And it's usually in relation to spiritual action I need to be taking, like, what's my motives for making amends? But it's wild how we don't really discuss our motives before getting into a romantic relationship. Weird that that doesn't come up. Uh, I mean, you guys can't relate to that. But one of the things is like my motives do not like I'm showing up to life with the best motives and it's still causing collision. Now in this metaphor, let's explain it. Let's talk about it. So let's imagine that we're all in a play because that's what we're talking about. We're all in this play of life. But if for this metaphor, the play is going to be Romeo and Juliet. And some of you who did not skip out on like your like grade 10 high school to go smoke in the parking lot, some of you are like, Paige, that is not a good play. Like it's like teenage codependent lust that ends in a double suicide. Sorry, spoilers for those that are not caught up with your Shakespeare. My bad. I know that's hot off the press. Uh, but like, and you might be like, Paige, that's maybe a terrible example. I'm like, I don't know. I like the drama. And so, so we're in this play, Romeo and Juliet. Now we've all been cast. We all have a role, and I have been given a role, and it is tree number 3. Listen, I think I'm some Juliet material, but believe me, I am tree number 3. And you know what's happening is I was not given a full script. So I don't know what Romeo's lines are actually supposed to be, and I'll be honest, I haven't done Shakespeare in a long time, so I don't know my Montagues from my Capulets. I don't know the who's who and the what's what, and I'm showing up with good motives. Maybe it's like I don't want it to end in a suicide. So that's some good motives that I'm showing up. And then I might be showing up with some not so great motives where tree little 3. And I'm in the tree costume. If you're wondering what my hands are doing, I'm in the little tree costume and I'm trying to shimmy my way to center stage like, oh, Romeo, look at these leaves, bad boy. Woo. I think I gotta be, center stage. And so what happens? So I don't have the full script. I don't know the beats and the lines that the play is supposed to hit. I Have you ever been in a play? I don't know. You know when they put like your mark on the ground, like they have a little tape that'll have an X here and a square here and a thing over there. I don't know what any of that means. Not a one of it. I don't know what it means. And you do not want me doing your sound. I don't have a good ear for which side things are coming from. I don't. Also, it's about music. I'll be weird. I'll pick something like, oh, this Shakespeare play needs alternative polka. Let's rock out to alt polka. Woo! Like I'm showing up and I want this play to go well, but I don't have the information. I don't have the ability. Keep in mind there is a director, but I'm showing up tree number 3. And I'm starting to tell all of you what you need to do, where you need to go, what you need to say, how you need to stand, and all of that. And girl, don't tell me what to do. Don't, yeah, tree. It's Arbor Day. I've been doing a lot of talks on step 9 lately, and I joke how, like, when we go approach step 9, it's like, oh, I couldn't possibly bother them on Arbor Day. They're too busy. I couldn't make an amends. So that's really carried over. Arbor Day, yeah, maybe that's it. I got Arbor Day in my heart because I know I'm just tree number 3. Uh, so I got my little script. I got my lines. It's just a sway in the breeze, and I'm showing up with good motives, and I'm telling you what to do, and you're like, girl, get off my back. You don't know me. You don't know what I'm supposed to do. You're not in charge. And I think the play is going to go great. Miss Terry was saying I got some tools in this toolbox. I mean, I can't quite reach them because of I'm in the trunk and stuff, but I'm trying to, it doesn't need to be this visual, but I'm trying to grab my little kindness and my generosity or my meanness or my egotism. And so what happens? So it says what usually happens, and as Terry was saying, it's so helpful to read this in our first person. Like, on the other hand, page maybe mean egotistical, selfish, and dishonest, like putting our own names or using I statements, putting myself in there and seeing, like using this, as Terry talks about, a book of mirrors and seeing myself in this. And so what usually happens, tree number 3, I'm doing the deal. I got my jazz hands going. Well, the show doesn't come off very well. What do you mean you guys don't like alternative polka? What is that about? Like my feeling, right? And he begins to think life doesn't treat him right. Oh, they're just not doing Shakespeare. They just won't hear me. They just won't listen to me. You know what? And yeah, my secret script. Why aren't they following? Right? And I didn't give it to them. Right? And to be fair, let's say I did. Let's say I wrote it out and I was like, here is your script. It's like the director gave me lines. I'm not doing your thing. You're not in charge. No, but I just know what would be best, right? I know what would be best. Ooh, and it is a tough pill to swallow when I learn I do not know what's best. Bear with me with that. Because you might have some situations in your life or some sponsors you're working with. And you're like, man, would it not be best if they took the course of action laid out in these 12 steps, had an awakening, and lived a beautiful, meaningful, purposeful life where they don't die from the horrors of this untreated illness? That might be easiest. That might be easiest. But that might not be what is best. They might need to have the experience that they are experiencing so that they can help somebody only they can help. I'm off on this tangent. I know, I'm as shocked as you are that I would go on one of those. But I described that my vision of my will versus God's will is I'm looking through a little keyhole through into a darkened room. And I'm trying to see, and I can't really see. And I got a candle, not a flashlight on my phone, not a headlamp, but I got a little candle. And I'm trying to like look through the keyhole. I'm burning my eyelashes. You ever done that? Oh, you can smell it. Like, and I don't have the full view. But here's the thing, God is in the room with the lights on. God is in the room with the lights on. And now we're going to get to that. That's going to be the point of the third step. So in response to y'all not doing the play how I think you should, you're not soliloquying. I brushed that, like I really dusted off that word. Haven't seen that in well over a decade, but a soliloquy over there. You aren't soliloquying how I think you should, and you're trying to. I thought I needed a 30-minute monologue in the tree number 3 in the middle of Shakespeare, and y'all are like trying to cut me off, which is rude and uncalled for. So my response to that is I decide to exert myself more. So it is more self. He becomes on the next occasion still more demanding. So I'm going to be this cranky boss tree that's telling you what to do, or gracious. Oh, let me give you this, let me give you this, let me give you this. I will sell parts of my soul for me, it won't even be chicken wings. It will be my soul. And I do have one despite being ginger. But I will sell parts of my soul to get your approval. You know what I mean? I will be more and more and more and more generous just so yes, gracious is a kiss in the gluteus maximus. I don't know. I'm trying to get into like Shakespearean language. Uh, I don't got it though. I don't got it though. I think there's a Shakespeare thing where it's like I bite my thumb at you, good sir. I think that's Shakespeare. Derriere is a good one. Oh gosh, I got to turn this over to Terry quickly. We are off track. So, so we're going to be more of self, and it doesn't work because it says still the play does not suit him. And we have this little glimmer of self awareness, just a little hint of it, admitting that me, history number 3, may be somewhat at fault, but I am sure that other people are more to blame. Like maybe a little, but you, but me, but you, right? I can't. He becomes angry, indignant, self pitying. So I fall into self. That is the result of self. What is his basic trouble? Is he not really a self-seeker even when trying to be kind? So I'm also going to ruin some of y'all's day. Uh, sorry. And then I'll pop it over to Terry pretty quick here because he will bring the joy. I will ruin your day. He'll bring the joy. And I won't ask for a show of hands because, again, we are going to be ruining your day. But is anyone here, not you guys, that would self-identify as a people pleaser? I know you guys would never. Yeah. Despite knowing we're getting bamboozled, we got some hands. I've got some news because I thought I was a people pleaser. Did a little introspection. I actually don't care if they're pleased. I don't care if they're pleased. What do I care about? I care if they like me. So I'm not a self seeker. I'm an approval word that starts with a W. Some of you think, yeah, some of you know. Yeah. Or if I don't want to say, yeah, if I don't want to say that word, I can always say self seeker even when trying to be kind because I'm giving with expectations. I'm giving so that you will give me value, esteem, worth, approval, praise, or a favor. Like I am giving so that I receive. I'm holding on to those tendrils of self esteem or those tendrils of what I think I need to get to be okay. And actually, Eileen just got here because Eileen I'm sure she loves it when I call it out. Yeah, like Lynn said, I'm just manipulating you to get you to like me. But like I'll be tree number 3, and I'm showing up, and I think the Jets need to win the Super Bowl. Now I'll even get some of you on my side for that one. I got like at least 2 out of 42. That's not bad. Uh, now we're gonna have some Bears fans that are gonna take umbrage with that. I am sure. Maybe yeah. Sports focus. All righty. So it says, is he not a victim of the delusion? Now, that word delusion is a word that we use in reference to the obsession of the mind. You see, the most insane thing that I could do as an alcoholic, as an addict, as whatever brings you to this all inclusive study, is take that first drink. The delusion. That is the word that we use in reference to that. The thing that is driving me to that place of hopelessness. And so when we see the word delusion here, it tells me that this delusion is as insane as this time will be different. Nobody will ever know. My problem was, the Jets weren't doing well, but they got a different quarterback, so it'll be different this time. I didn't mean that. That might have been a source topic. I didn't mean it that way. It just came in my mind. Right? It's as insane as this. A victim of the delusion that he can wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if he only manages well. Now, the word rest, because I'm into etymology, a lot of fun. So you want me doing your play. Shakespeare will just turn into etymology lessons. But rest is the root of the word wrestle, which is to take by force. So is he not a victim of the delusion? So this is as delusional as taking the first drink, that I can get satisfaction and happiness if I just manage well. And then we'll go to Disneyland and we'll have a good time. Does that sound like that's how we get to satisfaction and happiness? And so what I need to do is I need to drop the R, or drop the W in the word rest. So it just has the R. And I need to rest in God. I have a sponsee, we were going through this. She was telling me about how she just loves lazy rivers. You know, when you're sitting in a little tube and you're just going with the flow. And it is the 12 steps as outlined in this book that take me from trying to swim upstream against an impossible current to being in that lazy river. And I'm going with the flow. And then this is us. Is it not evident to the rest of the plays that these are the things he wants? Do you not all see that this is what I want? Well, what I want doesn't matter. And that, I'm pretty sure that's a Mark Houston quote, because my friend Ross, who does Mad Dog, he sends me like stuff, buttons and stickers that say what I want doesn't matter. What I want, which is a revelation, what I want doesn't matter. And then it says, and do not his actions make each of them wish to retaliate, snatching all they can get out of the show? Is he not in his best moments a producer of confusion rather than harmony? And that is how I'm perceived by others. I'm stepping on the toes. I'm trying to get to center stage, and y'all are like, Paige, you're not the star, and you're trying to get to center stage, and it's just not working. And I'm trying to tell you where you need to go and where you need to stand. And it's not working. You're like, I have different directions. What are you doing? You're in my spot. We've got to move the sets over here. And so the third step is ultimately a decision that I'm going to trust that there is a director. Now, if you have ever been on stage for maybe a like elementary school holiday pageant, or you've been on stage in any sort of capacity, you know that when the light is on you, you can't fully see out into the audience. And so there is a little bit of an element of trust, a little bit of an element of faith, that there is a director. Now that director, capital D, director, has the full script, that knows the lighting cues, that knows the set changes, that knows what the marks on the floor mean, that knows that we should not do alternative polka as the music accompaniment for Romeo and Juliet, that knows how it's supposed to go. And what I'm going to do is I am going to allow the director to be the director. The director was always directing, by the way. That had not stopped. But I'm going to allow the director to be the director. And I'm going to step back and I am going to follow my lines. Now, in this course of action, what is my lines? What is the next line that I take? It is pen to paper on inventory. Those are my lines. Now, in the metaphor of the play, what is my lines? Well, what did I say? On tree number 3, my lines is to sway in the breeze. And if you guys remember in We Agnostics, we were talking about that argument of I cannot see God, but we can't see the wind, but we can feel the wind, and we can see the results of the wind. And see, my job here is to sway in the breeze, to let this power move through me so that I get to be an expression of God's love and power and light and joy in all that I do. That's what I get to do. Tree number 3. Pew, pew, over to Terry. Sorry, that took me a while. Pew, pew.
Oh, good page. Paige, can you do me a favor? What's the 1930s definition of manage? And then I'm gonna come back to you because I'm gonna need it. Why am I a producer of confusion rather than harmony? Because there's no consistency. I'm just constantly trying, being demanding or gracious to get what I want. Having a script for everybody and they're not following it. I think the biggest thing in this paragraph is seeing the pattern. That when I'm playing God or I have a script for you and I'm trying to exert myself more and I'm trying to swim up the lazy river, and knock you off your floaties to get something I need or want, right? And you're not doing exactly what I think you should be doing, or life is not treating you right. Or I'm confused. Anyone say they're confused before? Because I don't like it. I don't like this stuff, right? This is what's going to happen. If I continuously play God and I don't step off stage, what's going to happen is that I'm going to get angry at you. That's what it says. What is it says? What does it say? I'm going to become angry. What happens when I get angry? I go down a rabbit hole. I like to fan resentments. I like to nurture resentments. I like to make, see them grow up. I like to play instant replay in my head with resentments, like ESPN, da 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 da. I like that. And I'm gonna replay, refeel, right? And all of a sudden, I'm gonna go into indignancy. How dare you? Yo, how dare you? And then I'll go bury myself in self-pity, and I'm gonna think drink solution, drinking. That's the path that we go down. That's why we're gonna look at anger as one of the common manifestations of self, right? Yeah, I love that people pleaser thing. Right? I mean, who we're really trying to please is us, right? So, what is that 1930s definition? Did you get it?
I got it, and I was going to put it in the chat, but hold on. It's manage. It is to conduct or carry on, govern, and then it also has render docile or tractable. So to like beat into submission almost. Use cautiously or wield. So those are
Okay.
the multi definitions that I haven't is, and again, mine is not the official 1930s dictionary. It's not a New England one. It's not, it's just one I had at home.
Because you're fun at parties.
Yeah,
So, look at that sentence. Am I the victim? 1930s definition, I believe, a victim meant to be tricked or duped. Page already talked about delusion as a lie, or you could call it a false psychotic belief system. Rest, she said, force it out. So you guys could put that in, and then manage, conduct yourself, feed into submission. I like that one. Right now, reread that. I'm gonna reread it back to you guys with those definitions. Am I not being tricked or duped by the false psychotic belief system or a lie that I could force satisfaction and happiness out of this world only if I beat it into submission well, right? Or I manage well, or I manipulate well, right? That that makes sense to me. That makes sense. That means I'm believing a lie that's in my head or a story that's in my head, and I'm going to try and force satisfaction, happiness out of this world, and I'm going to manipulate my way to feel better. Now, here's a spiritual exercise for everybody here. Um, Look at your life, go over a review or meditate on it, and ask yourself where you thought you managed well, and did you drink or got high? Or if you're currently sober and been sober for a long time, here's this one's for you. Look at your life currently and ask yourself where you are managing well and are you happy? Are you content? What about not happy? What about discontent? I'm not happy at work. I remember in the first year of recovery, I was so unhappy with all the jobs that I ever had. I mean, just look at anywhere there where there's unhappiness and discontent. Maybe you're being tricked or duped by a false psychotic belief system, a story in your head, right? This is the stuff that we really need to look at a continuous basis because if you're continuously unhappy or disturbed going to work where you hate going to work, someone is just going to be in your blast radius when you're asleep, walking around dreaming you're awake. And you're going to step on their toes, they're going to retaliate. And what happens when they retaliate, you're going to get angry. And then you're going to go into indignant, how dare you? And then you'll go into self-pity and you'll think drink solution, drink acid. That is the connection between selfishness and drinking. I don't give a shit how much time you have. We're all up against this, right? On a day-to-day basis. Our self or ego come back in a different phase, kind person, right? Or generous person, Mr. Spiritual Man, Mr. AA convention speaker. That was one for a long time. Right. I had 40 plus people up here and they're all giving me standing ovations besides let's say Lisa and Crystal River. And everyone's clapping, but Lisa isn't. But I'm focused on her because she's not fucking clapping, right? Oh, you should be clapping right now, right? And I'm disturbed and upset because one out of everybody is not clapping for me, right? It's because I took on a different face. I think I'm being kind and generous by giving my time for fun and for free. But in a nutshell, I fell in love with my voice. I love speaking because it made me feel good. I felt drunk in that story. That minion in that story had to die. Now I don't even care. I don't even want to advertise when I speak. I don't even, it doesn't matter to me anymore. I'm just an instrument of God. I just get played and here comes the music. Go, right? That's where God, that's the role that he has assigned me. I'm cool with that today. But I did fall in love with it and I was so upset and disturbed in recovery and I did not know why. I didn't understand why I was so angry all the time. I had to get free of that anger because resentment is like dealing with poisonous snakes, man. I don't, it's like they will kill you. The thing is, I like to play with them, right? All right. So let's go back. Our actor is self-centered and egocentric, as people like to call it nowadays. And my friend Kurt Z in California would talk about this when you hear a speaker talking. And I did this the other day at a meeting I spoke at where I asked I was trying to prove to people that they worship the God of reason by asking people what they are thinking about, what they want to share about after I'm done speaking. And one guy actually was writing down as I said that what he wanted to share about after I was done speaking. I talked to him. He's in England. I talked to him afterwards on the phone yesterday, and he relates to me to some part of me, right? But what was happening is he's relating to the condition that drives me. He's relating to the minion, the story, the talker, the liar, Romeo, Rambo, right? I mean, whatever you want to call it, right? He's relating to the bondage of self, the talker that's inside of my head. It does not say my actor. It says our actor. That means every single one of us has this actor, right? Even normal people have this actor that's inside their head. Now, why is that dangerous for alcoholics? Because this actor will drive us to a drink. It will drive us to feel ease and comfort. So he is like the retired businessman who rolls in the Florida sunshine in the winter, complaining of the sad state of the nation. That was funny. I remember in 2022 at a sponsee, he just could not stand the politics in the United States after an election. And he was so pissed off and so this, he just retired. And he's chilling in his nice place. I don't know if he was outside or not. I think he was cutting grass at that time when he gave me a call and he was so upset. And I'm like, why don't we just go to page 61? Because you sound like a retired businessman who's lolling in the Virginia sunshine, bitching and moaning about the sad state of the nation, right? There's a stage character that's in our head, a retired man. Now, if you never heard of Theater to Lie by Mark Bucer and Joe Hawk, just go on YouTube and check it out. This is actually a description of talkers that are in our head, right? I have Terry the husband, I have Terry the father, I have Terry Mr. AA, I have Terry the sponsor because I'm a sponsor, I have Terry the sponsee, right? Because I have a sponsor, I have Terry the husband because I have a wife. And all these different talkers that are inside of my head based on the situation of my life. So, and here's some descriptions: the minister who sighs over the sins of the 20th century, politicians, the reformers, everything would be utopia if only the rest of the world will only behave. The outlaw safecracker who thinks society is wrong to, right? And the alcoholic who has lost all and is locked up. Whatever our protestations are, that's whatever I declare. This is a wonderful question for everybody here, and I recommend that you answer this to yourself. Am I not mostly concerned with myself? Question mark. Yeah. I don't think too much of myself. I don't think too more of myself, but all I do is think about myself. It's just me all the time. National anthem every day, me. Right? Am I not mostly concerned with my resentments? Who's mostly concerned with their resentments? I guess everybody's a saint here. Huh? Yeah, I'm just kidding. Uh, Who's mostly concerned with their self-pity? You see, I'm so self-controlled, self-absorbed, thinking only about myself, and I'm asleep. all the time. And whoever's been awakened here, watch people who are asleep. There's a lot of people in this world who are just asleep, being driven all the time. And then that's going to kick us to the next paragraph, which is I'll pass along the page. So,
Pew, pew. Yeah, and one of the things that I love about the paragraph 61 to 62 that we just read, where it's like when it talks about self-centered and egocentric. And as you were talking, I went on like self-pity, but I didn't think I was self-centered. I wouldn't have described myself as egocentric. But what we're talking about, it is me centered upon me. And I am busy. Now, I know no one here can relate to thinking about what a giant piece of garbage I am just all day, every day. That is still me centered upon me, whether it's I'm so great and I should. And I'll be honest with you, nope, that's not how my brain operates. At no point in my life have I ever been like, I'm the best. No, it's always been I'm the worst, but still, it is me at the center. And I love that you were talking about the retired businessman who lolls in the Florida sunshine in the winter, complaining of the sad state of the nation.
and real quick, page, look at page, where is it at?
Oh,
In the medical
oh,
view, where is it at?
yeah, the medical appendix. Hold on, I got you.
Yeah,
Hold it.
look what it says here.
It is,
Like,
hold on,
is it
I've,
what page is it?
569.
569. Go to 570. Go top of the page, one, two, three lines down. Alcoholics Anonymous is no crusaders, not a temperance society. They know they must not never drink. They help others with similar problems. In this atmosphere, the alcoholic often overcomes his excessive concentration upon himself. I mean, yeah, I don't know why that hit me right when you were talking. So that's what we suffer from. And
Yeah.
what does it say? An excessive concentration about ourselves. All we do is think about ourselves.
Rude and accurate. You know what I mean? When we hop to the, because we think we're a little safe if we go to the medical appendices. I don't think I'm going to get my covers pulled at the Lasker Award, but there you are. Rude to call me out on my excessive concentration upon self. By the way, I love it. I love it when that you have those moments and oh yes, that's it. The root of my and we're that's what we're going to see in the next paragraph, that the root of my troubles is that I am centered upon self. And that centered upon self is driven by a conscious sense of disconnect from God. I do not know what is wrong with me, but what is wrong with me is I'm disconnected from that power. But because I'm disconnected from that power, I have a sense of emptiness and loneliness and pain and misery and I'm skipping ahead, but I'll go back to the paragraph I'm gonna say some words on. But you know when you stub your toe, and the only thing that you can think of is how bad. Actually, after my first ever, oh man, I'm going off on these tangents. You stub your toe, all you can think about is how bad your toe hurts. Well, if after I did my first ever fifth step, now my sponsor at the time, she did not give me the directions to do the quiet hour, to do 6 and 7. And I was just like filled up with these feelings that I suck and I'm the worst and I hate me and blah blah blah, like all of those, like I was drowning in self-pity and overwhelm. And I'm like, I'm gonna be a good sponsor, so I call my sponsor, so I'll be a good sponsor. Yeah, I call my sponsor. I'm like, I'm going nuts. I'm having all these negative thoughts, and my sponsor was like, okay, pray about it, click, you know. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna follow directions. And I said a prayer, like, God, like, help me with this, take this away, whatever it was. Anywho, then what happened is I was going over to a friend's place and I slammed my pinky finger in the car door. Now, yeah, if you've ever done that, oh, yeah, it was a doozy. Now, some of you might be like, oh, how wonderful. God answered your prayer. God gave you something else to think about. Now, I don't know about you, but this girl, she can multitask. I can think about how bad this hurts and what a piece of garbage I am at the same time. Now, Some of you maybe don't have that ability, but oh boy, was that not a helpful skill set to have. Like, so I do strongly recommend the Quiet Hour 6 and 7. That is the pressure relief valve for the self-hatred that I was feeling, but I did not have the directions to go do it. Yeah, that was a bit of a roller coaster of a day. But as you were talking about the retired businessman who lolls in the Florida sunshine in the winter, complaining of the sad state of the nation. Now, y'all know, like, just as your sponsee, like, you're in this beautiful place. Now, and I live in Canada, and we have winters that are like 9 months. It is like I'm not fully exaggerating, especially where I live in Canada, like where our delightful friend Rob lives. He's the best. They got like seasons and stuff. That's not where I live. I live in the part of Canada where we have winter and we have road construction. And those are our seasons. It is those two and nothing else. Like, well, you get a week of autumn. I don't know what spring is. I've never seen it. Like, those are our seasons. That's what we got. And if you tell me in the depth of February that somebody is lolling in the Florida sunshine, and I just visualize it like a white sandy beach. The palm trees are swaying, the waves are rolling in, and I'm not that guy. I'm not there. He's not there either. He's in his mind playing God. And what is he missing? He's missing the beauty and the reality of the world that lies before him. Now, when it says the minister who sighs over the sins of the 20th century, now I'm going to make this a bit of a 12-step equivalent because most of us probably don't relate to ministers, but I will point out it is like a minister complaining the size or complaining of the sins of everyone while not being able to do anything about his own. So the equivalent is, now you guys would never do this, but going to a 12-step recovery meeting and judging people based on their defects. I know you can't relate, but it's like I'm judging people based on theirs, and there is not a thing that I can do about my own. And when it says politicians and reformers who are sure all would be utopia if the rest of the world behaved, I'll point something out. You know how the world's been a little divided and like contentious, and it's like if one side got everything they wanted, do you think the other side would be happy? Or no, no, absolutely not. It's like I'm still being tree number three, and it's like I can't manage my life, but let me manage the world. And when it talks about utopia, it is a place of ideal perfection. And like I've never been to any of the Disney resorts or anything like that, but I promise you, if you took me to the happiest place on earth and I am living in self, I will be absolutely suicidal. It'll just, that is how I operate. So why do I think I know what's best for the world? And then when it talks about the outlaw safecracker who thinks society has wronged him. Has anyone here ever gotten locked out of your place and had to get a locksmith? You know that is a lucrative business. That is lucrative. Like he's like, oh, I'm so hard done by. He just needs to apply his skill set in a slightly different direction, And it's like, where might he made a decision based on self, which put him in a position to be hurt? I'm gonna throw it out there that society kind of gave him the script. It is against the law to break safes, and he's like, I'm gonna do it anyways. And then what happened was not society wronging him, but it was the inevitable consequences of his actions. And I know there's a lot of times what happens is I think the world is against me or God is punishing me. And instead, it's just the logical consequence of what I did, which again is just as rude as being called out in the four, or not in the forwards, in the Roman numerals in the back, like rude. And it says and the alcoholic who has lost all and is locked up. And again, whatever my beliefs, whatever I say, like, am I not centered upon self? So do I not desperately need to be free of that? And that's next week what we're going to dive into, because did a great job of managing my time. Pew pew. So with that, why don't I hold on? I will stop the recording and we can wrap up with a prayer.